Hello everyone. Today we're going to make one of my favorite things to make, a binder cover. It's a fabric cover that you can use with an ordinary 3-ring binder. So, what you will need is two pieces of your main fabric that are 9 inches by 12 1/4. I try not to use directional print, so this one can go either way. You will also need a piece that is 10 1/2 by 12 1/4. So we're going to make it main fabric and a spine. This is the spine. You can also cut a long piece that is 27 inches by 12 1/4. You can cut one large piece. This one I will be using as an inner liner, but you definitely do not need to be using an inner liner. This is another one that I've made that does not have a liner on the inside. Nobody really sees it, so it doesn't really need a liner. And this fabric is an Ollie Fun kind of non-woven texture fabric. It's really cheap. Costs probably about $2.50 a yard, $3 a yard, something like that. It's really cheap. For the inside areas, would be the inside flap. We're going to make it really simple today. You're going to need one inside piece that is 9 1/2 inches by 12 1/4. One diagonal piece, which is literally just the same size, 9 1/2 by 12 1/4. But what I did is I folded it over, marked it, and then cut it off. And then another piece for pockets. This is 4 1/2 by 12 1/2. Or I'm sorry, that's 12 1/4. Sorry, didn't mean to confuse you. 12 1/4. So they are all 12 1/4. For the back side of the pocket, or the back flap, you're going to need two pieces that are 9 by 12 1/4. What we're going to do with the back part is we are going to make a zipper pocket. And you might be screaming, oh no, no zippers, please, no zippers. But I'm going to show you a very simple way. We're just going to do it super simple. And I will walk you through the steps of putting a zipper on and making a zipper pocket for this, okay? You will also need two small pieces for the closing flap. And these pieces are 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. I had also put interfacing on them already. This is fleece. I believe it is fusible fleece number, I don't remember. It'll pop up on the screen. But the fusible fleece will keep it nice and sturdy. And I will be adding a magnetic snap that comes in pieces. Oh no. There you go. If you do not have a magnetic snap, you can sew a button and put a buttonhole on this piece. You could use plastic snaps if you know how to use plastic snaps. You could sew on snaps with those little small sew on ones, little metal ones. And you will also need a zipper. I will be using a 16-inch blue zipper. I will cut it down to 12 1/4 because that's how big it will be in the binder. So 16 inches, it's kind of a plastic, one of those plastic kind of zippers. And then I will make simple handles for mine out of nylon webbing. You can definitely make a longer shoulder strap with fabric that you double fold over and stitch to your size. And you will also need to add interfacing to, you will need to add interfacing to this middle section of the pocket. I went ahead and added interfacing number 808, and I just simply cut it slightly within so that it does not add bulk to our seam allowance. Okay, so let's get started with the actual sewing part. We're going to start first with the cover. So if you make your cover out of a long piece like this, a long main fabric, you might want to add an interfacing, a light interfacing to it, just because it will have some wear and tear. Obviously, it's a binder, it's a bag. So you could add an interfacing to your fabric if it is a long piece like this. But I will not be doing that because I am using this as an inner piece for that little strength. Okay, and you know what, let me show you that real quick just to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to be using it as an inner layer. So you see that? So you do not need to have this inner layer. It will still be usable. It will still last a long time, or mostly a long time, without it. Okay, but for the pretty outer side, what we're gonna do is I want to sew it so that it will look like this. So I would take this one, right sides together, and sew about a 1/4 inch seam. Okay. Okay, so I did one side, snip off my little end tails there. Remember to backstitch, and then go forward and backstitch at the end there. So that is one side done. I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side, and then I will take it to the iron, and I'm going to iron these seams open. Just makes it a little bit easier. You can iron it to one side. To me, open just seems easier. And that's what I usually do, so once again, sewing the other side, right sides together, and sew about a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so here we are with the cover sewn. The seams have been pressed open, and we are done with this part for right now. And hopefully, let's make sure that it matches the lining if I did my math right. Yes, it does. Okay. So we'll put this aside for a second. Right now we're going to move on to the tab. So once again, it is 2 pieces. You can make it a main fabric and secondary fabric. You can make them both the main fabric, both the secondary fabric, however you want to do it. That are 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. I like to have them slightly longer, so if my binder is open, it'll have some give in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to turn it and fold it in half, and I'm going to give it a small little decorative cut, just a small one. Eyeballing it. Maybe eyeball it a little bit better. There we go. Not perfect, but we're gonna sew it, so it's just a guideline. I'm gonna put these 2 together just so that we could have the same lines. Cut that. That. And with the right sides together, I'm going to go ahead and sew another 1/4 inch seam all the way around, back tacking and back tacking. We're going to leave this end open so we can turn it inside out. Okay? Okay, so cutting off my ends here. Now, using fusible fleece, it is a bit bulky. So, I like to make sure to cut just a little bit all the way around, just to create some ease for that bulk. When I get to the corners, I make my snips a little bit closer. Trying not to cut through my sewing. Home stretch. Almost there. And there. I forgot something. Oh my goodness sakes. Okay, it's all right. I forgot to add the snap. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. Now I'm just turning it inside out. Using my thumb to push out the ends. Kind of reminds me of a oven mitt or something with a lot of bulk. Okay, but I like it to be bulky because it's going to get a lot of wear and tear by opening and closing the binder and keeping the binder closed. Obviously, if you want to keep something closed, you want it to have a little heft to it. Okay, So there it is. Now before we go any further, I need to put my snap in, which was a big oops on my part. It's okay though. So for this, I'm going to use the little male part. I'm going to take one of the insiders, put it to about middle, thumb length, about there, and I'm going to mark it. Okay, you can see my little marks there. Snip, snip. There should be enough to get my prongs into the holes. Yes. And once you have your prongs in, you add your cover piece, and then you bend them. I like to bend them into the middle because it doesn't have sticky out parts, but it does create a little bit of bulk. Do you see? Kind of sticks out a little bit, but that's okay. For me, at least. If you do not want to do that, you can definitely put them out to the sides. All right, so there it is. I'm gonna push this out just a wee bit more. Okay, I'm gonna give this a quick iron around the sides, and I'm also gonna top stitch along the edge here. So I'll be right back. All right, so clipping off my ends here. As you can see, I top stitched about 1/8 away from the edge. Because it has extra bulk, you got to keep an eye on it that your needle and your foot do not reposition itself as you go around, especially the curves. Okay, so this part is done. It will be going on one side of our binder cover in a little bit, but we're not there yet. So next, we need to make the inside cover. This is going to be our inside cover. I have this white piece. Again, it is 9.5 by 12.25. I have this piece here, which I cut at an angle by just folding down a side, marking it, and cutting that part off. So 9.5 by 12. And then I have a small pocket that is 4.5 by 12.25. So what we need to do here is we need to turn this down, turn it down, bring it back up, fold it in. So we're doing a double rolled hem. So it's gonna go down, or you could just fold that over and fold it over again. Okay. And I do this because it doesn't add a lot of bulk to the sides. If I were to put two pieces together and sew it and turn it inside out, it's gonna add a lot more bulk on the sides here. So by just using one piece with a little bit of interfacing, it'll lessen that bulk up a lot. So I'm going to do the top part first, and then I'm going to clip it. Definitely iron this. I'm just clipping it now to show you. Do the top part first. Once you have the top part done, you'll have a little extra bit here. Just turn that over and turn that over. You'll see. So it kind of makes a little faux miter corner there. Okay. Make sure you do it straight and clip it as you go along. But I'm going to do this at the iron, guys. It makes it a lot easier when you iron it and fold it down and iron it and clip it. Okay, so I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, so here it is, turned and clipped. It's about a 1/4 inch. While I was at it, the small pocket on the front, I also turned it down about a 1/2 inch and then under again for a 1/4 inch double fold there. This one does not have interfacing because I want this to still have some give and some stretch, because this is going to be a front pocket. So that small tiny little stretch that fabric usually has, I want it to retain that. This one I want to be a little bit stiffer, otherwise it would be a floppy mess, especially up here. Okay, so next we're going to top stitch to keep this roll down, and also I'm going to top stitch on the small pocket one also. So back tack, stitch, back tack. Okay, so actually chain stitch them because they were just straight lines, so why not? So you can see here, just a simple stitch to hold that on. And let me cut the tails off of this one. You do not need to cut the tails every single time. You can cut it all at the end if you want. And I did use white thread so that you can see where my stitching is. Okay. So this is what it will look like finished. But before we get to that point, see, these ends are still kind of raw. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the back fabric, we're going to turn it over, right sides together, and you can pin it or clip it at the end if you want to. I'm gonna just add a few clips. And what we're gonna do is we are going to only stitch on this end here. So back stitch, forward, back stitch. Okay, now that that is back stitched, what I'm going to do is just take it and flip it over. And you can take it over to the iron and very quickly iron it so that it lays a little bit more flatter and straight. Okay. Give me a second, I'm going to do that. Okay, so here it is, nice and ironed. So now when you have this in your binder, you have that finished edge here. You can also finish this edge by adding binding. I had done that in a previous one. So this edge was done with a binding, piece of binding. If you have a serger, you can serge this end to finish it. But I like the way this looks. You could also top stitch it here. I don't like to do that because if I want to put a piece of paper in here, sometimes the paper will stick out. So not doing that keeps it kind of closed. Okay. But we're going to open it one more time. And we're going to mark places for pockets, places for holes. So we got to make sure that we do not put it in our seam allowance. We do not, so we want to measure, I'm having a 1/4 inch seam allowance right now. I'm just going to do 3/8 because it's more than 1/4 and that'll give me a lot of wiggle room. I think I'm going to make 2 places for a couple of pins. So we'll say about 3/4. So 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch, and then we'll make maybe medium-sized pocket, so 2 inches, and then we'll make a couple of bigger pockets. So how much left do I have? Let's take the 3/8 over here off of that so we don't measure that apart. 5, 6. Do 3 1/4. 4. Sorry, doing math in my head. I'm just taking about halfway between here and our seam allowance is about 3 3/4. Okay, so just put some lines there. That is where I will be sewing my stitches. So one here, slightly bigger pocket here, and then 2 big pockets on the end. Okay. So sew down and back stitch. Try not to sew over the part that will be flipped over later. Okay, so just straight down. Okay, so I have sewn my pockets. I made 2 that are for hopefully pins or pencils that can go there. If you wanted to use this for school, you could make the whole thing all 1/2 inch for pencils. Mine, I have this smaller pocket. I can probably fit a pair of snips in there or a ruler. These bigger pockets are measured for maybe, oh, where are they? Sorry, had to find them. Post-it notes can go there. And you can make them any size that you want. Doesn't have to be what I say, okay? And I left these 2 open because we will be sewing that when we sew the entire cover on. And I tried very hard not to get it on the white that's going to be flipped over. Okay, that part is done, guys. Okay, last section of our binder cover is the last back end of the binder cover, and this is going to be a zipper pocket. So there will be a zipper here, and this will be, whoa, fluff. That's the fluff. Okay. So that will be the inner area. I am not making this with lining because I want to make it as uncomplicated as possible. Okay, so there will be no lining, which is perfect. Sorry, getting all this fluff off. Okay, so I'm trying to make this as uncomplicated as possible. No lining. It is going to be the same fabric. It's black, so you cannot even tell if there's a lining on the inside or not. So one of these will be the back. We're going to put that aside. One of these is going to be the front area where we're going to install the zipper. So let's get our trusty ruler and cutter. We are going to measure about 2 inches down and cut that apart. Okay, now these are the 2 parts where the zipper is going to go. So we're going to take this one, right sides together. More fluff, oh my goodness. And because I have a 16-inch zipper, it really sticks out a lot. I am not worried about that at all because I'm going to cut it. With these plastic zippers like this, they're really easy to cut. You can call them craft zippers. I get them from Amazon in bulk. So I have many different colors. I'm using blue because you can see it better, and why not? Okay, so I am pinning this or clipping this together with right sides together. Do not be scared of zippers, especially from me, because I will try to show you the easiest way to do it. I have some hanging off here, some hanging off here. Now, about 1/4 inch, I'm going to sew all the way down, back tack at the top and at the end, okay? Oh, and you might want to change to a zipper foot because a normal foot or a quilting foot has too much happening on one side. The zipper foot is made to be narrow, so change to a zipper foot. So here is my zipper foot. I want to attach it so this side is the side closest to my zipper teeth. Ooh. Do you see that? Now, when we're doing this first one, it does not have to be super close and super straight towards it. It just has to be in the vicinity because we are going to fold this down and we're going to do a top stitch. Okay? So, just one stitch all the way down. Okay, so there's my first line of stitching. You can see it went a little bit weird on this side. It's not as close as it should have been, but that's okay. That is totally fine because nobody's gonna see it. You can finger press this and fold it open and just run your finger along the zipper area. This is the area where it was kind of wonky. I'm going to put it down and fake a perfect edge right there. There, see, nobody can see that that was a mess up. Not really. All right, I'm gonna do another bit of stitching from the top all the way to the bottom. Okay, and I still have my zipper foot on, and I'm gonna try to keep it straight. Okay, so there it is, all sewn up. I am still using white thread so that you guys can see. I mean, it's not perfect, obviously. If I was using a black thread, you probably wouldn't notice. Okay, so we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. So we're gonna put it over, right sides together. Try to keep the edges of the one you've already sewn on there. Keep it straight with the new one that you're putting on. And pin it. And it's gonna be exactly the same steps as we did before. Pin it, sew it down, flip it over, top stitch it. So if you can sew a straight line, you can make this, insert this zipper, okay? Trying to make it super easy for you. No weird linings, no birthing a bag. Simple, straight stitches. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do both this stitching, flipping it over, and top stitching it. Okay. Okay, so here's the front part of our bag. We did not have to worry about moving the zipper or anything like that. The back is going to be inside the bag and nobody will ever see it, so that doesn't matter. Now this part, we are going to put them right sides together. And I'm going to sew along the bottom here, okay? So it's similar to when we did this one and I sewed it here, and we're gonna flip it back. We're gonna do the same thing here, right sides together. After I am done sewing, we will flip it and iron it, okay? So for right now, right sides together. So about a 1/4 inch seam on the bottom. And then iron it to the back. Okay, so it has been stitched. This will now be the inside of the bag. If you wanted to zigzag stitch this or serge it, you could have, so that it doesn't fray. But once again, it's the inside of the bag. It doesn't matter to me. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. Oh, but I do have pokey outy threads. Okay. Now you will also notice that we have a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, a little bit up here. That is because we cut it in half and we inserted a zipper and things just came apart. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut that part off. So handy dandy ruler and cutter, line it up so the tops are even again, and cut it off. Okay, there's the bag portion of our binder cover. Home stretch now, maybe. So we have the front cover. We just made the back cover, or the back insert. Here is the front cover. And before we go any further, I have to insert the female end of my closure. Okay, so I'm going to measure down about an inch and a half. Let's find the middle first. Find the middle. Just made a little snip. Measure down about an inch and a half from the center. About there. I know you guys can't see it because my fabric is very busy, but it's okay. Sorry, let me move this also so you don't get confused. So I'm only doing this small section, but because this is thin, I don't want the closure to wear off and start to come out. So I'm gonna add a little bit of usable fleecing. Okay, I cut about an inch off of a scrap piece of fleece. Give me a second, I'm just gonna tack it on there. I don't need to really put it on there a lot. I just want it on there to add a little bit of help to my closure. Okay, so I have fused it on. You do not need to use fusible fleece. You can use some scrap fabric, just double it over, and you can use that. Just make sure that these, I don't know if you can see it, but my lines on my fabric make it very hard to see the lines that I marked. I am using my X-Acto knife for this part. Okay, now I'm inserting, and this one I will flip them out. Okay, come on. Okay, so I'm just bending them, literally just bending them with my fingers. You can use a pair of pliers. And that is the end. Okay. I said in the beginning I was going to be using nylon strips. These were put on there, not by me, by the store where I bought these. So these just happened to be in the clearance section. And I said, you know what? I might need nylon strapping at some point in my life, so I shall buy them for like $1.50. I think that's how much they were. Okay, actually I'm going to burn it. Oops, clip the end first, then burn it. Keep your fingers away from the heat. Fun fact, I used to work in a pizza restaurant, and working near those hot ovens all day are no fun. And if you're not paying attention, you can get burned very easily. Got a burn on my arm. So please be careful. Do not burn yourself if you happen to be using nylon webbing. Oh, I thought that was out. I was almost scared. Okay, these will be sewn into the cover, but as an added precaution, that is why I am burning the ends. If you make your straps longer and out of fabric, you don't need to do this, obviously. I just want simple handles. As you can see, I am keeping it straight, turning it, and that is how I will be placing it onto my cover. Now I am going to use a basting stitch, and I will baste these down. They are approximately 2 inches, and then the strap. Okay, so here's my mark for the center. I'm going over 2 inches, and then I put my strap there. And I would do that on the same center. Move it over just a wee bit. Okay. And I'm going to do that on this side. Let me find the center on this side by folding, snipping, as you can see, I pushed it in a little bit so that way it had its shape. Okay, now I want to do 2 inches from the center. And then my strap, 2 inches from the center, and then my strap. And I will be basting these down just because they get all wobbly. Okay, and I will also baste this one down too. We're going to put this on the opposite end. Make sure that it is lined up. Center of the tab with the center here. Okay, I'm going to baste stitch this side first. Just basting it all along, longest stitch, which for me is a 4, and then I will baste here and here. You do not need to really back tack it because we're going to be sewing everything. And it's about a scant quarter, a little bit less than a 1/4 inch basting seam allowance. Okay, the handles have been basted on. This one, I forgot to not do the back tacking. That becomes habit if you do this a lot. Back tacking just becomes habit. I didn't do it on this side though, I remembered. Okay. So now we are at the final stages of this being done. Woohoo, almost done. Okay, hopefully you're getting this. I'm trying to line it up in the camera frame. Okay, so for me, I like to have my closure be on my left and my opener on my right. So that is how I am positioning it now. And since it's like that, we'll turn it back over this way so I can show you. You want this front inside cover. This is how it's gonna look on the final stages. So you want this on this side, and then I'm going to be putting my zipper pouch on this side. Okay? So in order to get that like that, I positioned it correctly here. I'm going to just slide them down, slide it down, flip this over, and then flip these over, right sides together. My little flap on this side. Make sure you get your handles onto the inside, and this is where you're gonna have to open up that zipper and keep it open, okay? You just want the zipper to be out of the way when you're sewing it. So when you're sewing it, make sure these are together so that it closes properly. Okay. If you were making this cover piece as one entire piece with interfacing, you would sew here, sew the edges all the way around, and then you would just turn inside out from here. Okay, I don't know if that hopefully makes sense. Let me see if I can use this one. Sorry, excuse me, I'm getting this other one so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you did not want to line this, and it was an unlined piece, you would sew along the sides, and then just grab and turn inside out. And grab and turn inside out. And that would be your finished project. Well, with adjusting, of course. Okay, but that would be the finished project. You would be done. Because I am using a lining, I am going to, well, first of all, fix this. Make sure my handles are inside. Okay, your handles are gonna mess things up if they're like this. It's okay. You can pin them down to get them out of the way. You can deal with them and just push them down and hope that they stay there for the few seconds that they need to stay there, and yell at it quietly. Okay. I'm going to grab this piece here, put it on top. So cover piece and flaps and then my top lining piece. I will be sewing all the way across the top, down the side, along the bottom, but I will not be sewing here. No, that's going to stay open so that we can flip this inside out. Okay, so 3 sides will be sewn. And I'm about to get sewing here. I just showed you guys that I just pinned everything, making sure everything was lined up where it was supposed to be underneath, that my handles were not getting in the way, that they are tucked inside. Everything is tucked inside so that it is all sewn together. Okay? Okay, so let's clip the ends so that they give us nice sharp corners. This one I'm just going to kind of clip. I did go over the edges of the zippers twice, so I went once, backed up, and went again, just to add a little bit more security to those ends. But now that we are done, we just clip those off. Clip this side off. Okay, here is the moment of truth. Let's see. Whew, we're gonna put our hand in. There are several pocket areas. We're gonna go ahead and go to the one closest to our liner. Putting our hand all the way to the edge and pulling it out. And when you get to this point, you might say, oh no, I did it wrong. What happened? It's okay. It's fine. It's supposed to look like this. Don't worry. These parts themselves get turned, okay? So you did nothing wrong. That's just how it's supposed to look in the beginning, okay? All right, I'm gonna leave this one here for a second because we need to close up this hole. But we're gonna leave it for a second. We're gonna come over here. We're gonna fix our corners. And I left it open so that if we need to, we can use a little turner and help us out with turning these corners. Turn this corner here too. They don't have to be super pointy. It's preference, personal preference. You need it to be super pointy, make it super pointy. Just don't tear a hole in your corners. I have done that before. I'm sure one of you probably has also. Okay. This side, which has the bag and is still open, needs to be shut. So we're going to make sure that everything is together. As you can see, I made sure that this is all together there. Take some clips. We're going to clip that. That part's falling in because of the handle bulk and our closure. So we'll put a little clip there. Make sure you bring up that. Okay. Make sure the end, remember the bag has 2 sections in it. So make sure both of those are up. Clip that also. Now because I like to make my tab, my closure tab, thick, I have to hop my foot up a little bit and readjust my foot as I'm sewing to get over that large hump of fabric. So when you are sewing, just be aware that the thicker the fabric, the more hump it's going to be, and you might have to go a little bit slower while you are sewing. Okay, I'm going to sew this edge and be right back. Okay, my edges are all sewn. Going to clip the corners. And tuck in the edges. Turn it inside out. Sorry, trying to get this corner. Okay, there we go. That corner. Put my finger in. Get that corner out. Use a little turner. There we go. That one's more pokey. Okay. And believe it or not, guys, that is it. We are done. And obviously clean it up with all the little threads. Here is our awesome pocket that we made. Super simple. Remember, straight lines. That's all it was straight lines. We have this pocket over here. Moment of truth. Let's get a binder and let's put it on a binder. Now the measurements I gave you were hopefully for a 3-inch binder. Let us see. It does fit a wee bit tightly. That is okay though. It's going to stretch. And you do want it kind of tightly on there, obviously. Don't want it to be too fluffy around. Oh, it's like getting a 2-year-old into their clothes. I don't know how many moms are watching this, but you know what I mean. Oh my goodness. Wrangle it in. There we go. Okay. There we go. There's our pocket. Big enough for some scissors. And it's a tiny bit of bulk, as you can see. A little bit. Okay, scissors can go in there. Check. Closes up with the closure. Handles. And little bits of thread. And it looks like a little purse. Now that we are done, we can open it up and add all of our accessories. We have our pencil, our accessory pouch here, which I need to put my zipper foot back in. This one has all my sewing, not all my sewing supplies, but a lot of sewing supplies. That goes in. I have my little folder with some of my quilt patterns in it. Okay, let's put that one in. You can use this binder for school, for retreats, for recipe books. Here is my project board, the felt on it. My project bag with a project in it. And my handy tool caddy, which will also go in there, has my scissors in it, has a zipper pouch down at the bottom here with my hexi and regular ruler. Oh, I was looking for this. My turner. Okay, let's close that up. Put it in. You know, some of these you gotta adjust them so they sit right. Okay. And close it up. I am ready to go. I have everything in here that I need. And subscribe if you want to know how to make these, because these are the next set of tutorials that I am going to show you guys how to make binder inserts. All right, thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this project, and if you do make it, please let me know. I want to see your creations, okay? All right, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.